Hello friends. Good morning. Today we want to talk about independence. The issue of independence or formed self is not something that can be defined in a general and complete way. It cannot be said that a person is completely formed self or completely dependent. But in any case, people who do not have a formed self usually do not have independence and are more affected by mental illnesses. The nature of every human being is such that he likes to have independence and freedom. So it cannot be said that a person with an average or above intelligence level wants to lose his freedom. For every human being, nothing is more important than freedom. When a person does not have freedom, it is because at some point in his life he has been forced to make a trade-off. A trade-off between freedom and the right to live. This choice usually happens under extreme pressure and at a young age. How independence is lost in childhood. The loss of independence and freedom usually occurs during childhood, and is caused by the child's parents or caregivers. These people can include a father, mother, older siblings, grandparents, or anyone else who has a caregiving role. The goal of psychotherapy. Restoring independence. Here I am reminded of a quote from the famous psychotherapist Karen Horney, who said, "The greatest thing I can do in psychotherapy is to tell a person that they have independence and to help them achieve independence." How can we restore independence to people who have lost it? These people are usually under the influence of the person or system that has taken away their independence. This condition is also called Stockholm Syndrome. Challenges of restoring independence in the early stages of psychotherapy. We must show the client that there is no longer a risk of death or loss of survival. He can be freed and live his own independent life. But this process needs to be slow and gradual. We must help the client, like a toddler, relearn how to gather information, analyze it, and make his own meaning. This is the path to independence. But we must understand that this takes time and may take years. The dangers of redependence in psychotherapy when working with such clients. We must be careful not to transfer their dependence from the previous person, mental God, to the psychotherapist. This transfer can cause serious problems. Also, the client should not become dependent again on someone who creates a new cage for him. Teach the client to achieve independence through learning and experience without dependence. This requires enduring hardships and gradual learning. Steps to returning to independence. 1. The client should gradually re-enter society and learn the skills necessary for independent living. 2. Learn from their experiences and analyze them to become stronger over time. 3. Experience small, controlled failures. But be careful not to have major failures that cause frustration. An example I can give in this regard is about my clients. a 25-year-old woman who was heavily dependent on her brother and had little awareness of herself and her needs. She had a mentally ill and damaged family. This client came to me 6 years ago, and the treatment steps were carried out in the same way as described. The client's level of dependence on her brother was so high that even any mentally ill person who had a brother would take it. The first stage of treatment was talking about the beauties of freedom and a normal life, and gradually it reached the main issue of being under control, which was also a sensitive stage. By accepting independence, we reached the first stage of independence in collecting information in the real world. The sessions progressed step by step until the stage of information analysis and interpretation, where the client here, because she had a damaged family, had a negative interpretation of herself and the world. We got through this stage with a lot of work. It is necessary to explain here that at each stage there is a possibility of spontaneous return, and the person returning to the conditions before treatment. So you should not worry and allow the client to do this. Incidentally, when he goes back to the past and the level of satisfaction with, he realizes how little his life was and how much it has increased day by day with the start of treatment and how much it has increased day by day. Another point that should be considered is that one should not put more pressure on the client than he can handle, as the risk of collapse or relapse in the client will increase. Another issue is that the other side of the treatment has taken the client hostage, which is definitely looking to return the client to his previous state. You should try to consider all the developments surrounding the client and give the necessary advice. After the initial stages of gaining meaning, the client's worldview and ethics begin to grow, and the client should receive sufficient advice in these areas. Finally, you should be very careful not to create a god other than yourself for the client, or for the client to create another god from you to escape the pain of treatment. Always repeat this point that there is no God on earth and everyone is their own God. Conclusion: this process is very sensitive and time-consuming, but with patience and proper guidance, the client can be helped to regain his independence. Thank you very much for paying attention to this clip. I hope I have provided you with useful information. Please follow my channel, Effective Psychotherapy, and activate the bell. I would be happy to share your comments, criticisms, and suggestions with me. God bless.